as we all know at the moment, keeping productivity up is one of the major pains that business owners and employees are suffering. We've got businesses in all sorts of conditions. Some are just carrying on but are having to implement social distancing guidelines. We've got businesses that are having to work from home. Some of them have got staff that are furloughed. If you are an employee and you're trying to work from home, you're trying to be productive and probably homeschool your children, or keep yourself sane at the same time. So businesses and people at the moment are facing unprecedented problems. But as we all know, there's nothing new under the sun. All of these problems have probably been faced before, and you're not alone. There are a lot of people facing them. So we've got a team of people together today. I'm going to let them introduce themselves in a minute, but what I'm hoping is that we can tell you a little bit about our experiences and what we're doing to keep our businesses productive, and hopefully give you a few hints and tips that will help you keep your productivity levels up again. So first of all, I'm going to go to Alison Driver. What's your name and where do you come from?
Hi, Metis HR. I'm based in Bacup.
Okay, and Mags?
Mags Potter, Potter's Business Support. I'm a virtual assistant.
Brilliant. And Hannah?
I'm Hannah from GrowTraffic.
Yeah, so as the eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed, Hannah and I are sisters, so we do run GrowTraffic together. So we have got two GrowTraffickers, but when we were putting together this who we were going to have on the panel, and I'm aware it is another all-women panel, and that wasn't a purposeful decision, even though two of us are so optimists. But we were thinking, like, oh, who do we know who's working from home and trying to keep a business running, and they've also got children and the parents and the elderly, and then we thought, oh no, it's us two. So that's the reason we have actual real life experience of this. Alison and Mags are in slightly different circumstances, because I do want us to have a rounded view of this. I don't want it to all just be about mums who are trying to work from home at the same time. We've got people who are isolated and on their own and trying to run a business. We've got people who are isolated but with family members, or in Mag's cases with her two dogs. Actually, Alison's got her two dogs as well. So yeah, isolating with dogs is a key theme here. But we've got people in all different circumstances, essentially. So I'm going to go around again. This time I'm going to ask you what position is your business in at the moment, and how have you responded to it, and how are you coping personally? So Alison, over to you.
It's absolutely manic. You can imagine with 80 plus clients trying to deal with reacting to situations, reacting to what the government's saying, reacting to changes that take place once the government's made the announcement, and helping those clients try to implement the practicalities with their teams of staff. As a business, we work virtually now, so there are three of us, and we're separate, obviously, but we liaise with one another, so we don't finish up picking up the same queries. But it has been non-stop, and I'm really glad that I've arrived at the Easter break, so we can just take a breath. It's heartbreaking to hear some of the stories.
I can imagine, yeah, because I mean, you through your HR consultancy, obviously, you've got a whole range of customers, again, in different situations. I imagine you've got some that are carrying on and some that are furloughed staff and in a whole different scenario.
Yes, every sector you can imagine, and different sectors are impacted differently. We have some clients who have kind of mothballed, if you will. They are all furloughed, with others that are limping on. And we've got a couple that look like they're actually going to go out of business.
Right. Yeah. And like you say, that's heartbreaking, isn't it? As business owners yourself, you know how important your business is to you. So yeah. Can only imagine how difficult that is. We have just lost Mags, but I'm going to go to Hannah. How's your business coping, Hannah?
My business, it's been a rough couple of weeks, I think would be fair to say, but I feel like we've pulled together, and I mean the beauty of GrowTraffic is that we are mainly family. Well, we are family and friends, so we've got a pretty strong core. Like it's not like we're coming at it from a rocky place, and we've just banded together really. And no one really knows what's going to happen or how long funds will take to come in or whatever. So We are just optimistic. We're adapting as best we can. And you keep trucking, really, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it before on one of these Facebook Live sessions in the past, but our business GrowTraffic has gone into it in quite a fortunate position because we did have a buffer in the bank. So we knew we had about 3 months' wages, which, most businesses, a lot of businesses are more, but a lot of businesses don't even have that through the Bake Up Business Association, which I'm the chair of. A lot of those businesses are new and they just don't have that kind of buffer. So we have gone into it in a fairly good position. But saying that, we've still had to furlough some of our staff. So with a lot of our clients, well, not a lot, but a few have paused their contracts until they know what's happening. So even if you yourself, your own business is kind of all right, you're not immune from what's going on in the wider world because your clients, obviously, you're reliant on them and they're reliant on their personal circumstances. So there's no business that's immune from this. Max, how about you?
Well, I found my own personal business hasn't changed because it's a virtual assistant anyway. So I don't normally see my clients, very, very rarely. However, like you say, a couple of my clients have had to put the contracts on hold because they're not in a position to keep going. My other clients are absolutely superb. They're very grateful for the fact of the systems that we've got to work remotely. And so, yeah, it's working. It is working very well.
Yeah. And in terms of personal circumstances, I know your office is back home again now, isn't it? So how are you coping yourself with the change?
I worked at home. I started PBS for the first 2 years working from this room. So in a way, I've come back home, but I do like to get up, get dressed and go out to work in the morning. I only used to go down the road to my office, but it felt as though I was physically going out to work. Whereas now I'm just unlocking the office door and coming in through the other things. And the fact that my husband's at home with me, I'm not used to having him at home.
Yeah.
And I have often in a day, I will suddenly think, oh, yes, it's 3 o'clock. I haven't managed lunch yet. Well, now I actually have to think, well, oh, he needs his lunch. And
what? Mad.
Well, no, I'm sorry, but my husband is 6'2" and 9.5 stone. And if I don't make him his lunch, he just sits there. He just goes, oh, well, I wasn't hungry. So I literally have to practically force feed him. Unfortunately, it's not a problem I have for me, but it is a problem for him. So if it's just part of being a VA, really. You look after people, and so I feed him. So I actually said to him today, you'll have to make your own lunch. So he's taking the dogs out instead.
I'd let him starve to death.
Yeah. Well, I mistakenly bought 2 packets of bacon. I'm a vegetarian, and I'm not one of those vegetarians who would succumb to bacon. The smell of it makes me feel sick. So I stupidly bought 2 packets of bacon, thinking I'll give them all a treat because there's 3 hungry people in this house, apart from me. And so they've been cooking bacon all morning, and now I'm thinking, why the hell did I buy them bacon? Should have bought them some aubergines or something. But how are you coping, Alison? Anyway, because you're self-isolating on your own, aren't you?
Yeah, I have a lung condition, which means I'm shut in for 12 weeks. I think I'm quite glad I'm on my own. I think if I was stuck in a house with somebody else for 12 weeks, I think that would be a strain. So. No, it's fine. My commute now is 3 steps to my office door. A bit like Mags was saying, I still get ready, get the work clothes on, put the makeup on and go to work. And then my lunch hour is just spent in the garden with the dogs. So far, I'm okay. And I have people like you who are so very friendly who go and get me my prescriptions.
Yeah, I think I mean, we have in Bake Up here. So Alison's also a member of the Bake Up Business Association, but we do have quite a nice community, don't we? And there's a lot of the food and drink businesses are still doing deliveries. So and obviously we're in a beautiful part of the country. So I've said this many times over the last few weeks. I would dread to be a single mum on the 16th floor with 3 kids and no outdoor space or anything. I think I am in a very, very fortunate position. So I do count my blessings for that. But yeah, so bringing us on to the next bit. Thank you for that. So I've touched briefly at the beginning on the problems that people are facing at the moment in terms of keeping productivity up for their business, but you three have a good experience of that as well. So I'll go around again. Alison, what do you think business owners and employees are facing at the moment?
Uncertainty. I think that's the biggest issue, and not having concrete information to make decisions on. So it's classic, I guess. The government are having to make decisions on the hoof, and then when the civil service or HMRC get involved, they've got to put some flesh on the bones, and things change. So furlough's a classic example. It came out as one thing, and then within a few weeks it was something different. So it's trying to deal with the unknown. Nobody's got a crystal ball. We don't know how this is going to pan out. And then we've got the added complication that every business is trying to preserve cash. So nobody's paying people. So how do I maintain productivity when I've got no money to pay the staff? And if I furlough them, I can't use them. So there's just so many unknowns.
I think that is what the uncertainty, certainly. I mean, we had a BBA meeting last night, and somebody was saying there, like, oh, they couldn't get a payment holiday on the rent, so they've stopped paying all their other suppliers. And I get it, I understand that. But then, as I said before, that has the knock-on effect on the rest of that chain then, because then there's other small businesses that are their suppliers that then aren't getting paid. And, again, even if you think your business is sort of all right, I mean, we went into this kind of quite optimistically thinking, well, people still need Facebook and people still need websites, and we'll be all right, we'll carry on. But obviously digital marketing generally is often one of the first things to go. And I get that as well. If it's a choice between, do I pay my rent or do I pay my staff? Or do I do some Facebook ads? Naturally, people are going to pick rent and staff, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mags, how have you found? I know with your clients, how are they kind of coping? What problems are they facing?
They are seriously concerned about cash flow. Seriously concerned. Emphasis seems to be on, have the invoices gone out? Can you chase them? Can you chase them?
Yeah.
Which I am doing, of course. It's part of the job anyway. However, it's a more urgent part of the job because of the impact it does have. And also, as was said previously, it's the uncertainty. I mean, if we knew this was all going to end on the 1st of September and everything would be tickety-boo, then you've got something to work towards.
Yeah.
But because we don't know, it could fix itself next week. It's not going to, but it could fix itself next week. Or it could fix itself next year. So it's just a case of taking one day at a time and seeing how you can keep going.
It is.
Sorry.
It's all right. No, I was coming to you next, Hannah. Go on.
As well as the uncertainty, this isn't my answer. I've got another answer. As well as the uncertainty of when life will go back to normal, it's the uncertainty of knowing when the government funds will come. We've furloughed staff, and all right, we've got some money in the bank, but we don't know how long that's got to last us for to pay the wages before we're reimbursed. It could be months. And I feel like that's, and then if you apply for a Sybil's loan, then no one's got any idea how long until the readies are in your bank then. So I think cash flow is a huge problem facing an awful lot of businesses.
I think, it absolutely is. I think, and like you said there, it's all very well, we furloughed staff in order that the 80% will be paid by the government, but in the meantime, businesses have still got to pay that, and that's employees that they would have been making redundant. Ergo, they haven't got the money to pay those employees. So, they're saying the government portal might not be open until the end of April. So the money's likely not going to be coming through until May. Companies are going to have to be covering, 2, 3, maybe even 4 months worth of wages for staff that by definition they couldn't afford to keep. So it is such a precarious position. But Hannah, go on, carry on.
So my official answer is, I think mentally as well, business owners are facing a barrier to productivity. I know the people I'm speaking to are finding that it's quite difficult to motivate themselves to kind of keep going, especially if the rug has been absolutely whipped from underneath them and their entire service offering is based on something face to face, and they can't do that. You know, it's been a battering and bruising like 3 weeks, and I think people I'm speaking to are finding it difficult to actually motivate themselves to think, right, how am I gonna, you know, to keep fighting, to keep thinking, how am I going to change my services now? And then I feel like every day almost there's something else that's a bit of a kick. And just for a lot of people I'm speaking to, and, you know, me as well, some days, it's tough to get out of bed and think, right, what am I doing today that's gonna push this business forward and try and save our bacon a little bit, and that's going to be something positive I can put into the world. But I do feel with that things like this, talking to other people and virtually networking and reaching out and helping other people, you know, without having any kind of monetary agenda is one of the solutions that can, you know, pull you through.
Yeah, we were talking about this morning. I was doing a session that Mags was on this morning, and we were saying that very thing. I think, you know, mentally, that is one of the biggest barriers at the minute, because obviously people are, you know, struggling. If they're thinking, well, God, everything's going to go to pot around us, and they've got all these additional pressures, it is hard to motivate yourself to keep your business going. But we were saying that, you know, there are so many ways of innovating. You know, there are so many options that businesses could go down in order to innovate and change. And even if you can't continue your business in the way that it was, like we've got a friend who runs a cake making business who's not able to do that anymore. She's been told by insurance companies that she's not covered if she carries on operating during this time. So she's had to stop completely. So I mean, in this instance, she's using the time to redo her website and redo her social media and kind of come up with that content. But one of the things we were saying is that you've got to change your whole approach, if you like. And at the moment, it's more about changing your business to be what your customers need it to be, rather than just trying to carry on and plug, you know, because I mean, who's bothered at the moment about having their website optimized? It's not anybody's top priority. You know, they've got better things to worry about. So we've changed. We've changed some of our courses. We've created new courses. We've created some new packages. We're doing these Facebook Lives. We're doing the webinars, answering the questions and the problems that people are facing at the moment. And they are really basic questions, like, how the hell do I keep my business going and keep paying the rent and keep paying wages, rather than, you know, this is how you optimize, use Yoast to optimize your WordPress website.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. It's a very, very tough market out there, and that's for business owners. But I know, you know, employees are facing similar stresses, aren't they? And they're trying to work from home. I mean, like, you've got Naya, who's 7.
Well done. Yeah, she's 7. So, your youngest niece.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm quite lucky with Leon, because he's 10 and fairly self-sufficient at the moment. But you know, anybody with younger children as well, they're trying to do that. They're trying to do the job. They're trying to make sure they've found enough pasta and tomato sauce to feed the family. They've got all the stresses of keeping the house germ-free. There's so much to think about, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think as well, people are worried about their friends and relatives and stuff, and the support network has gone. And like, I know for my little girl, it's definitely hitting her hard not seeing other children, and not seeing her grandparents and her auntie and things like that. Obviously, her other auntie, she's not bothered about you, Rachel.
No.
But I think really, in some ways, it does help to put work woes into perspective, and it gives you something to keep going for. Like, you think, right, I've got to be productive because I've got the responsibility of, you know, being able to afford to buy pasta and tin tomatoes and keep this kid going and stuff. So, you know, it's nice in a way. And like you were saying earlier, it's so helpful to count your blessings. And when things are getting, you know, stressful, if I've had another client cancel or whatever, then she'll kind of potter in and ask me some nonsense or show me some video or something. And you think, actually, yeah, it's there is a point to it all, isn't there? It stops that self-destructive, nihilistic. You know, you do it for the ones you love, don't you?
Exactly.
I was also talking to somebody yesterday. In fact, we had to, it was a bit upsetting, really. I was doing a Zoom call with her because we were doing some social media training, and her mum came in and said that her grandma was in hospital and was about to die, and they were going to let her mum go to the hospital to say goodbye. And so, I said, obviously, let's, cancel this. We'll, speak to me later.
Sit there, I'm going to finish it.
Facebook. I want you to learn how to use Facebook. So we abandoned that. But anyway, she emailed me later on and she said, look, I know everything's shit at the moment, but this is something productive and constructive that I can be doing. And so can we do the session on Monday or Tuesday next week? Because I need to focus my mind on this and not just sit there panicking. I think that's really important as well, isn't it?
Well, personally, before the madness took over, I have been known to say, I just want the world to stop for 2 weeks. Let me have 2 weeks. Let me catch up. And it's my fault, yeah. I'm pretty sure there isn't a business owner out there that hasn't said, oh, for some time to catch up. Or I'd just love to be able to learn how to do that, but there isn't time to do it. Well, now there is. So there are positives out there.
Yeah.
There are positives out there. I mean, by the time I go back, I might actually be straight. That would be nice.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, when do we get the opportunity to spend kind of a really good period of time and just focus on what is our business? Have we gone off on tangents? Bring it back to what we need to do, and where are we going? Have we got the right product? Are we meeting the needs of our customers? What do our customers actually want? Have we got the right price? Really focus on that. And as we were saying before, learning new skills. This is such an important thing for kind of continuous personal development. But I mean, not if you run off your feet like Alison is. Alison's desperate for a lion at the moment because she's really working.
But one of the things too that business owners are potentially forgetting in the madness is that furloughed staff can do training. So a little bit like you said, we've always wanted this 2 weeks to catch up. Now's an ideal opportunity to ask them to start to upskill themselves on particular areas. Even driver training now is available online. So there are a number of opportunities that employers can use to upskill staff, but also keep them engaged with the business when they're on furlough.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. I mean, for GrowTraffic, Moz, who is like the god of SEO, they've offered all of their courses for free for the duration of lockdown, and that's about £2,500 worth of online courses that you can do for free. So many kind of government governing bodies for different industries have done similar things, and there's so many resources out there, webinars, free sessions, Facebook live sessions, one-to-one sessions even that you can jump on, and often even Spark, BNI, Bob clubs, they're all running sessions that normally you would need to be a member for, and they've just opened it up to anyone because they recognize there's that business need there. So there is a real opportunity. Yeah,
a lot of the universities as well, if you go onto their websites, a lot of universities have got free courses on that they can have on, and not just British universities. I know Harvard have got a really famous, I think it's called happiness, like the happiness course or something, but there's so many resources out there for free. And if you go on to, if anyone is wanting to do some upskilling, if you go on to reed.com, the jobs board, reed.com, they've got a really good comprehensive training directory really that points you to places where you can do like lean management online for free, or it was when I did it, and health and safety courses and safeguarding and all those soft skills that aren't necessarily taught or required, but look really good on your CV and give you another element to your skill set, and you get a certification for it, and it's all online and it's all free. And then there's another one called the NCFE. I think they're an awarding body. They do level ones or they used to be free, and then just a small charge for level 2 in various different skills and soft skills and stuff. So there's absolutely tons of stuff out there that, if cleaning out your understairs cupboard isn't appealing when you're furloughed, like I've just done today, then upskill yourself and keep your brain going, because I find that once your brain becomes lazy, then it's so easy to stop being productive and to stop and
yeah,
stop.
it would be so easy, wouldn't it, to decide like, oh, I'm going to have a duvet day. You know, there's no point at the moment. I'm just going to have a duvet day. I'm just going to watch Netflix all day. And actually, that's, you know, I mean, if you need to have a Netflix day, if you need to just calm down and chill out, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I think that it's very easy to slip from that into, you know,
one day becomes another, that becomes another, and then you've lost a month all of a sudden. So,
exactly.
yeah.
And it becomes depressing. So I think just little things as well. Like, actually, we were, just to add on to the learning thing, Edge Hill University and I think UCLan as well are offering EU grants at the moment for businesses that innovate. So if there is no existing solution that will enable your business to do what you need to do online or in this new world, and you can think of a solution, or you can make one even, or talk to a developer, or get an app, create a website, develop a new system, anything like that is going to be innovative. There are grants and funding available for that, and you also get the R&D tax rebate thing, I think, on it. So you know, it is a really good time. I know that I keep seeing these memes that say that Isaac Newton changed the world whilst he was on lockdown from the plague. You know, you don't need to go that far.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for Isaac Newton.
Also, just to give another one of those, I was speaking to a woman the other day who's from Sheffield Hallam University, and she's from her website is scaleup360.co.uk, and they work with businesses to help them license products for new uses. They do free workshops. They help people prototype products. So you've got access to all the universities, design and development and lecturers and stuff, and they can help you bring a new idea to the market. And that's Scale Up 360.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, any of these resources that we're talking about, or if anyone wants signposted to any of the things we've talked about, leave a comment and we'll happily get back to you and give you more details on them. So we've talked about kind of the problems that businesses are facing at the moment, and obviously why it's important that businesses keep up productivity at the moment. So what are your productivity tips? What are your best ones? Alison, I'm going to come to you first. Give us your best productivity tips.
I think that some of my clients are innovating. Yesterday I sent out a list of resources that I gathered from the internet about opportunities for to put your business forward. It's like a matching service almost. If you've got warehousing capacity, if you've got vans, if you can manufacture, lots of different opportunities. So I have a local client that makes ink, and they've diversified into making hand sanitizer
right
at the moment. And I think it's trying to use your employee teams to come up with ideas as well. This doesn't all fall down to the employer, and a lot of experiences and knowledge is held within the staff teams, and it's trying to get them involved so they feel part of the drive to try and protect the business and protect their own jobs at the end of the day.
I think that's a key thing as well, isn't it? It's in, you know, an employee. Yes, all right, an employee might have been furloughed, but that doesn't mean they're out of the business. You know, that all right, they would have been furloughed because they would have been made redundant, but now the funding is that, you know, we want to keep our furloughed employees in the business. It's an absolute fundamental goal. And so a big part of that is keeping them involved. You know, as you say, they can't do anything paid, but they can volunteer. Is that correct?
Well, you can volunteer outside of the organisation. What you can do is take part in activity that doesn't generate revenue. So ideas, brainstorming, catching people up. And we do have to think about how we remain engaged with furloughed people, because worst case scenario at the moment, they're out of the business till the end of May, and that's a long time to be disconnected. The business can change dramatically in that time. So it is putting together some kind of strategy to keep those people up to speed with what's happening and trying to get them thinking about what could change, what could we do differently.
Yeah,
I think, go on, Mags. Yeah.
It's also a case of quashing any rumours before they start, because if people do have tendency to, if they don't know an answer, they can make it up.
Yeah, or go to Mrs. Google and not get the right answer. Yeah.
So if you stay in touch with your clients or you stay in touch with your staff, then they're listening to the true answer. They're not listening to anything that's false.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really important. I know before our staff were furloughed, Dali posed them a question about how are we gonna. We're obviously with GrowTraffic, our obvious goal is to get our traffic up as much as our clients' traffic, and we have been doing that with a new strategy. So he posed them the problem of how are we going to do that for the next 2 months. So essentially, think about our marketing strategy and what ideas have you got now, because they are. Mostly kind of copywriters. They've not been in SEO for 15 years like he has. They're going to have to do a bit of research in order to come out with that. Whether or not they do it, I don't know.
I fully expect them all to be watching right now, and
yeah, they'll all be watching. They'll all be doing the Moz courses and research.
Better be.
But it is absolutely clear. I mean, we've got a team meeting next week as well. We were supposed to have our team meeting yesterday. So once a month, we all get together, because some of us are in Lancashire, some of us are in Sheffield. So once a month, we all get together in one building. We sometimes go out for lunch or order it in or something. And obviously we missed that yesterday. We couldn't do it where we all get together. But we're making sure we're scheduling regular Zoom calls with the furloughed staff so that we can keep them in touch. I presume that is allowed, is it, Alison? I asked that now.
Yes, again, you're not doing work that's generating revenue, and there are some where you've got part of your business still working and part of it on furlough. That does become an important part of keeping the team together as a whole. So yes, as long as they're not doing anything to generate revenue, that's fine.
No. Brilliant. Thank you. That's a relief. Yeah. Mags, anyway, give us your productivity tips. What's helping you at the moment?
Keeping people's systems in place, making sure that they have structure.
Yeah.
And when there's a problem, discussing it with them and showing them an alternative. That I have found has been very helpful for my clients. I had one client who phoned and she was in a terrible panic. And I said, right, okay, so let's just breathe. Let's see what the problem is. And I gave her a solution and the task has been done. So it's a case of take each task at a time, make sure your systems are in place. And if it can be done, do it. If it can't, then work a way that something can be done in its place so that it can pend until we can get back to normal. Yeah,
I think that's the key thing as well, isn't it? We're all, as this kind of goes on longer and longer, we're all getting into the mindset of this is becoming normal. And that's the perfectly natural human reaction, isn't it? We've got to start making it normal because we can't live under extraordinary circumstances. But as that becomes our new normal, we start to think that everything's on pause, that everything's on hold. And that mindset then becomes entrenched. So I think, having the thing where you're saying, right, we're not doing it. We're just pausing it because we can't do it at the moment and we will come back to it. I think that's an important distinction, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And especially if you can find an alternative to fill it at that time. So, it keeps the momentum going, but it means that nothing ever will get forgotten either.
Yes.
Systems and procedures have to be in place to ensure that when we are allowed to go back out to play, everything can be picked up.
Yeah, I think that is really important. Hannah?
I think I'm an enormous fan of to-do lists, and I really like to structure them. So I have to-do lists that are immediate tasks that are urgent. I have a monthly to-do list. I have weekly to-do list. I have a variety of tasks on there. So if I've got like a giant task, I'll break it down into smaller bits so I don't feel overwhelmed and I feel like I'm achieving something. And like I said earlier, it's easier to feel it's easy to feel unmotivated. But if your tasks are small and manageable and working towards a bigger goal, then you're much more likely to do it. And also you get the satisfaction of giving yourself a little tick every couple of hours, which I do find extremely motivating.
Yeah, very rewarding.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, make yourself to-do lists. And if you've got, 2 sides of A4 of a to-do list, break it up, get your highlighters out and color coordinate it and split it into today, tomorrow, end of the week, end of the month, and categorize them and break it down. So it's not, you're not feeling overwhelmed, but you're still accomplishing things every day.
I think to-do list is a key thing, and I do this. I mean, I always we have an ongoing. So one of the things that I do want to talk about is kind of apps and systems that we've used. So we use Asana in our business, and I know there are lots out there. But Asana is a way that we can schedule tasks for each other because we're working across multiple sites. So you can say, you set yourself a client, you say this is what the client wants, then you can set a task, and within that you can set subtasks. And like Hannah says, that's really quite satisfying, because if your task might not be finished for a week or 2 weeks or something, but if you've broken it into little subtasks, you can tick that off, so you can at least see that you're making progress and feel like you've done something, rather than things just keep getting pushed back. Do you use any apps, Mag, that help you with to-do lists, or are you just a good old pen and paper girl?
I love pen and paper. There is nothing more satisfying than scoring it through once I do at the end of the day. I don't care whether it's at tea time or whether I'm working into the evening, I do always say, and what have I achieved today? And yes, I have achieved this, and yes, I have solved that and sorted that, and what's for tomorrow. So I think you need to be able to say to yourself, well done for doing it, keep going.
I do. One of the tips that productivity gurus always says is have a pen and paper by your bedside table, don't they? Because you can. It's that feeling of going to bed. I used to work as a manager in the NHS, and it was quite. The job itself wasn't stressful, but the workload was stressful, because you would go in every morning, you would work your bum off for 8.5 hours, and I would leave every night with just as much work as there was when I went, because it was just coming in quicker than any of us could do it. And that was really kind of soul destroying, because you just feel like you're not getting anywhere. And you'd go to bed thinking, right, so tomorrow I've got to do more, and I've got to do it again, and I've got to do it again. Whereas I think if you have a pen and paper by the bed and you write down, right, like you say, today I have achieved this, 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 and this. I still need to do X, Y, and Z, so I'm going to write them on my pad. And then you're not thinking about it. Then you don't end up having those horrible anxiety dreams where your horse's hooves are falling off, like I always have.
Is that your anxiety dream, Rachel? Your horse's hooves are falling off.
It's not that my teeth fall out.
It's I have teeth like normal people.
No, I don't have that one. No, the horses are always losing their feet, and I always call the farrier, and he always chop them. But every time he picks their foot up, the hoof drops off completely. It's awful. Write yourself a to-do list, saves you having the horrendous dreams. Alison, do you have any tips or tools that you use for to-do lists, or are you a pen and paper?
We use a pen and paper, but I do have a particular approach that I got off a life hack site some years ago now, because a to-do list is, this guy described it as like going into Morrison's and you pick up some bacon and you pick up some butter and you get around to the biscuits and you think, oh, I forgot the cheese, and you go back. And so within the business, we have 4 categories of work prioritisation. So the first category is client work. That's the clients that are paying us a retainer fee. So they are always prioritised. Then we have fee earning work, which is the project work that somebody's contacted us and they need us to do something, but they will pay for that on the clock, if you will. Then I have a section which is intellectual time. So sometimes we have to think about a particular situation. Not everything is straightforward. And then admin stuff is at the bottom. So all of us are... it was very early on when I started to employ people, I realised that I have a system in my head of how I prioritise, and I need to translate that for other people so that we all work in the same way. And that's worked really well, but it is pen and paper, because a bit like you, Mags, I like to cross things off. Yeah. And sometimes I have to admit, when I've done something that wasn't on the list, I write it on and then I cross it off.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Yeah. Yes, so we're all that anal.
Yes, yeah. And the other thing we do, we have a CRM system. So as we're talking to clients, we're summarising that what that contact is, so that if my colleague picks up the next phone call from that person, at least they know what advice I've given and where we're up to with correspondence.
Yeah. So are you? Because I know you have Ali. Is Ali furloughed at the moment? Is it
No,
you?
I can't furlough anybody, otherwise I'd be working 24 hours a day. No, Ali is still working. We're both struggling with the speed and the workload. Sarah, my colleague, is term time only, so she worked up until the point when the schools broke up. But what was interesting with a change with Sarah, because her husband works at home as well, with the 2 children. So we just got very relaxed about you're employed for a period of time each day. It doesn't really matter to me when in the day you do it, as long as you do it. So that gave her a bit of flexibility around dealing with her children if her husband was on the phone. So, and that ultimately, to me, as long as it was done, it didn't matter when it was done. But no, Ali and I are working at breakneck speed.
Capacity. So how is your pen and paper system working at the moment? If you have your to-do list, are you using your CRM more as a to-do list? Because you're working.
The problem we've got with the CRM is because we are working so fast and we're having so many inquiries, it's a challenge of keeping that up to date. So what we're tending to do is to work from a client base. So if I picked up an inquiry from you, I would be the main contact for you. And Ali would leave because we can see one of those emails, Ali would leave all those emails related to GrowTraffic for me, and she'll pick up somebody else. So we're backing each other up, but we're trying not to tread on each other's toes.
Yeah, I know that's a good way of.
We have specialisms, so if it's anything to do with contractual updates and mediation, I will always pass it across to Ali.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's interesting. I think what you were saying though about the flexible working, we have that at GrowTraffic, and I've talked about this on previous sessions. So it was one of the reasons that it was quite easy for us as a business to make the transition to working from home, because it fits in with our ethos. So because of the way GrowTraffic evolved, and because I had a problem with my back and I had a young child, and Hannah then came on board, also had a young child. We've hired, people who've got extenuating circumstances that mean they work better from home and stuff like that. So because of that, we've always had the policy of flexible working. It's been something that has been kind of enshrined in our employee contracts, if you like. And we've always said, as long as the work gets done, we don't care when you do it. We don't care really where you do it, as long as the work is getting done. Now, we were in the process of kind of evolving that into being in the office by default, if you could. But we were always going to maintain the element of, if you need to collect your kids, or you've got a school assembly, or you've got a doctor's to play, or whatever, we're flexible.
But I think it depends on roles. So for an admin support point of view, it doesn't matter to me when it's done. But I can't, from an advisory, as a professional giving advice, it's when an employer wants an answer, they want it now. They don't want to wait till 4 o'clock this afternoon. So that's a challenge from in the consultant bit, the advice bit. We've not cracked yet, and I don't think I ever want to crack that, because our job is to put client first. I know what it's like when I want an answer. I want it now.
Yes. Yeah. Which is fair enough, isn't it? So we have touched briefly on apps. Are there any other apps, hints, tips, anything that you've got that you found particularly useful at the moment? We've been using, for example, WhatsApp to the end. Our GrowTraffic WhatsApp group. Or honestly, if I showed you the conversation that had been going on in there this afternoon, I think we'd lose quite a few followers. It got a bit blue, and there's not a lot of work going on in there at the minute. But we've got a group for the directors and the people that are still working, and then we've got the WhatsApp group that's covering everybody. But I do think that's important, because that is a lifeline. It's how we're keeping the business connected, but we're still sharing news about what needs doing, because obviously we've still got clients. We're still got the day-to-day work of the business that needs to be kept up. So that kind of thing. So anyone else got any tips? Alison, have you been using any?
I've been using more Zoom and Skype calls. Things like WhatsApp's the bane of our lives in terms of people using it inappropriately, getting involved in banter that somebody else takes offence at. So it is, a lot of clients are using it now to broadcast email contact with them, but I'm still picking up disciplinaries and grievances in amongst all of this that we're having to deal with, and it's because somebody's taken offence because somebody very quickly sent something off. Or so no, I think we've been too busy doing the doing, picking the phone up and writing letters and writing emails for clients. My focus has been on Ali and I being as effective as we can, playing to our strengths, making sure that we get a lunch break, because it's very easy when you're working at home to get with it and to carry on, and you need some downtime. I'm struggling switching off at the end of the day. I've been doing 10 and 11 hour days, and my brain is hard. It's just whizzing. So I've been using I have a relaxing app that's been out an awful lot every night as I'm trying to go to sleep. And the one that works best is, and I think it must be because I live in Rosendale, the rain. Listening to meditation with rain always sends me to sleep.
But that's a really good productivity tip, isn't it? Because you are only going to be productive if you have had some rest.
Yeah. You know, if I'm tired, I'm not necessarily going to give the right advice, and that could cost a client money.
Absolutely.
So you need to take care. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Mags, you were saying yesterday about your lunchtime routine, weren't you?
Yes, yeah. I happen to watch Doctors. I know it's a load of rubbish, but it's just one of those things that I quite like. And so at 1:30, I stop work, I go and make the lunch, and at 1:45 till 2:15, I watch Doctors whilst eating my lunch.
Yeah.
And I do it every day, unless I'm on a Zoom call. So, but one thing that I use for all my clients to record how much time I'm working for people is Toggle. It's an absolutely brilliant system. And although I use it to record individual clients, it's a brilliant system if you have just started working from home and you want to know how much time you're actually spending at work. Because it is something that you actually need to keep an eye on. I mean, otherwise you've got an 18, 19-hour day and you think, oh, I'll just go to bed and then I'll get up again and I'll do it exactly the same tomorrow. If that was one of your members of staff, you would soon stop it.
Yeah, you do.
So you need to keep an eye on how much time you're working. So something as easily as Toggle, it's a free app and you can just record how long you work, or you can put it down to projects. So if you saw one project that you were doing and you thought, how much time does that need? It's also a marvellous tool that you can use in the future, because then when you know you're doing a project and you've actually timed how long something's taken, if you've got a client that says, how long would it take to do such a thing, you've got an answer for them. So it's a handy little tool to use.
Is that free, Mags? Is that a free app? Right, okay.
You can pay for it, but to be honest, I run my business on the free app.
Yeah. It is. It's important. I mean, I used to when there was just kind of me and some freelancers doing GrowTraffic years ago. I obviously was working from home, and when we stopped having computers that were on desks, so i.e. you had to go to the computer to work, and we started having laptops. You just carry it around the house with you, and I'd just sit down and I think, I'll just answer this one email. And then before you know it, you've spent 3 hours, answering emails, and then you've written a blog, and then you've done an audit, and it's 9-10 o'clock at night and you're still working. So it is having that divide and, knowing how long you've been working, how long has a task taken you, and then, right, I'm having a break.
Yeah.
And a break is get away from the laptop.
But also with your smartphone. I lock my office door, so my computer's switched off, but my emails all come through my iPad and my phone.
Yes.
And in times Colin has said, will you just eat your tea? And I'll go, yeah, I am. You're just nothing. Eat your tea. And it's too easy to do it.
It is. Do you know what I do? I turn I've stopped notifications from everything other than WhatsApp and texts. So I only get notifications for those. But I also mostly have my phone on either silent, or if I'm writing, I have it on silent. If I'm just kind of a bit out and about, I have it on vibrate. So that I look at it when I'm ready to look at it, and I will go check my messages, because otherwise I find, because especially if I'm writing a blog or something, I'm so easily distracted, and so I'll be in the zone, and then I'll get a message, and then I start answering that, and then I start doing something, and before I know it, I'm 5 jobs off, and I've not finished that. So I think that's quite a handy tip. Hannah, what are your top productivity tips for us?
Well, I'm the opposite to you lot, really. I'm incredibly disciplined with my time, and I've never got out of the habit of working 9 to 5. And you know, sometimes I'll start at 8 and I'll finish at 6, and I'll stretch it out a bit. But if I do that, I have a longer lunch break, or I'll actually have a lunch break, especially now my husband and kid are at home. I'm actually having lunch breaks, but I refuse to work in the evenings. I don't have notifications on my phone. I don't really work weekends unless, it's urgent or I've got like absolutely nothing else to do. And I don't get my emails on my phone. I switch off, because if I don't, I find the next day I'm incredibly unproductive. I can probably do if we're super busy, I'll work evenings and weekends, and I can probably sustain it for about a week. And then I find after that, I spend my days just staring into space and just not at all being productive. So for me, I absolutely have to have that time to unwind. I have to sit and eat my tea and stare at the TV for a few hours and get an early night. Otherwise, I'm just useless. So, I love a routine. Get yourself into a routine and stick with it and be disciplined with yourself. Like, you could work 24 hours a day. You'll always find the work. But it's not going anywhere, is it? And the world's not going to disintegrate if you don't answer that email or finish writing that or whatever. But you might disintegrate if you work so much.
It's very true. It's very true. And it did take me a long time to learn that, to be able to, say to clients as well, or I remember a couple of years ago I was complaining about how busy my calendar was, and Hannah said to me, I was like, well, all these people, I need to see all these people, and I said, yeah, but you book your own appointments, like, you've done this to yourself. Actually, yeah, you're right. And it's true. I thought, I've got to try and squeeze everybody in, but actually when I said to people, I haven't got anything for 2 weeks, that 3 weeks is the first appointment I've got, people were all right. They said, okay, that's fine. So
You're terrible for it, Rachel. And then the other thing is, the minute you stop, not like, this isn't like a let's bash Rachel, but this is the point. The minute you stop, you get ill. Like on holiday, you always spend like the first week just on your ass. And I think that's not healthy. And
no, it isn't.
Yeah,
I have got better recently. I have been a lot more stricter once. You see, again, though, it was easier when we were at the office, because I would Dali would do the morning shift with Leon, so I would go to the office early, and I'd get into the office for 8 o'clock normally, but then I'd work through my lunch and finish at 3, because I would come home and do the after school shift with Leon. So that was my cutoff. I stopped working then. I'd go out and play with the horses and cook tea and what have you. But again, now we're back at home. It's back to, I've got to try and be strict with myself and stop myself just continually working. Otherwise I will do. Wow. But yeah, so our tips on how you can be productive have turned into a session on how you can switch off.
But it's important. That's what, you can't be productive constantly. Nobody can be constantly productive. And like with your to-do list, have some big tasks and have some little tasks. And if on your to-do list one of your tasks is empty the bin, that's still something that you're achieving that needs to be done. And if another task is review your pricing strategy, that's still an achievement. Like, if it's a big task, if it's a small task, like, be kind to yourself, for God's sake. Otherwise you're never going to be productive. You're going to be in a mental institution.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We are almost out of time, ladies. So I'm just going to go around. Does anybody have any kind of last minute tips? Hannah, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say drink more water. But What does anyone have the kind of, if you had one productivity tip that you could give somebody, what would it be? Alison, what would your top productivity tip be?
It would be something stupid like cloning myself at the moment. I think it's about prioritising what you're doing. So yes, you'll have a big list, but prioritising what you're doing in terms of importance for your job. So something can be urgent, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's important. So what's your business all about? And maybe it's prioritising those key tasks to make sure your business endures.
Yeah, agree completely. Mags, top productivity tip.
Be proactive, not reactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one.
Hannah?
Look after your body and your mind. Look after yourself and stay healthy. Otherwise, you'll not.
More water.
Drink more water. Get lots of sleep. Eat healthily. Look after your mind. Have some downtime. Yeah. Otherwise, you're not going to be productive.
Yeah.
Don't look after yourself. Who does?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's absolutely true. Yeah. And I think if I was to give one, it would just be, have a routine, get up in the morning, get dressed, come to work, set yourself a time limit of when you're going to do it, get yourself into a routine and stick to it and have a working day similar to how it would have been as much as you can. I know that's not always possible with, children and dogs and husbands and what have you, but as much as you can, try and keep your working routine going, because I think it genuinely is one of the only ways that we're all going to stay sane.
Yeah, and get dressed properly. Put your jewellery on, put your makeup on, put your bra on. Don't let your standards droop.
No.
No, it's true. It is true. Yeah, get yourself ready and get yourself dressed as though you're going to work. Makes you feel better. It does make you feel better.
You're in work mode then. You're in work mode,
Yeah. And I think as well, like just a little side, but when you're on Zoom calls as well, I've done networking Zoom calls with people when they've clearly been, sweaties and they've not washed their hair for 3 weeks, and and you just think, right, it's not the best. I'm not saying everybody has to, get dressed up like Marilyn Monroe or anything, but just have a wash, love.
Yeah, just remember the image that you want to promote.
Yeah.
Just because we're all stuck inside doesn't mean that we're slobs.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. We are out of time, so I would just like to finish by thanking you all so much. I appreciate it's Good Friday, so thank you very much for still coming and doing this. We do get quite a lot of people that watch this video back, so I appreciate it, and I know other people appreciate it. You've given us some top tips, and have a really good Easter weekend, everybody. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.